Chapter 181 Scammer attempted to sell secondhand Tesla as brand new. Florida man scammed him and bought it for $1,000. Chapter 181 Scammer attempted to sell secondhand Tesla as brand new. Florida man scammed him and bought it for $1,000. The giant monkey-tailed man guided Leo to his store and showed him a portal. He gestured for him to go in. "Where will this lead to?" asked Leo. "You gonna be teleported to ride. Hop in and I'll show ya." Leo was skeptical about this. He was afraid that he might be teleported to another planet, and he might not be able to return to the stadium. Still, this spaceship was the clue to the origin of his first entity fate crystal. Leo chose to bite the bullet. All right, he entered the portal. After crossing to the other side, Leo found himself on the bridge of the spaceship. The salesman also followed Leo to show him around. At $% at $. The guy's speech became incomprehensible after they entered this place. Leo frowned and tried to communicate with hand sign language. "I don't understand you." Leo moved his mouth and moved his hands around. The salesman slapped his forehead. He wiggled his fingers and gestured for Leo to go back. Leo agreed and crossed the portal back to the stadium. "My bad, New Earth. I forgot that the translating system only works here. Anyway, I'll show you the hologram of the ride instead." The language barrier was still a thing. Without the stadium's mysterious influence, no one could communicate or trade around here. The salesman guided Leo to a large table, whose surface was a hologram projector. After a few seconds of typing, the projector displayed a hologram of a spaceship in the posture. He then invited Leo to stand on an observer platform to inspect the ship from above. The observer platform was a transparent floor above the hologram projector. Leo hopped on it and gazed at the spaceship hologram below. The spaceship design was a combination of a USS Voyager from Star Trek and Gundam series. The oval front looked similar to a saucer UFO, but the middle and the back featured a bridge control tower, cannons, guns, and even a hangar for shuttles and smaller ships. However, noticeably, there were many cargo rooms. This ship looked more like a cargo plane or a commercial plane than a battle spaceship. The hologram displayed the interior of the spaceship, including its specs and descriptions. The salesman introduced the perks and exciting parts of this mothership. "You ain't getting this classic from elsewhere, dog. Those freaks from Divine Stellar Court. Excuse me, the New Earths from Melon-Use Galaxy mass-produced this to invade the Cathalhus. You can guess what happened. Those cats called them to pull up and beat their asses. The rest is history. Anyway, this is a remnant of that war. This one got smuggled before the war began, and it got passed down to my hands. Of course, the mileage is only less than 1,000 light-years." Leo wanted to retort that 1,000 light-years as a mileage was quite a distance. However, this was a spaceship, so Leo couldn't refer to a car's mileage standard. "How much?" The salesman grinned. He showed 4 fingers. "For what?" 5,000 soul stones, and it's yours." Leo raised his eyebrows, surprised by the cheap price tag. He thought that the salesman would ask for lifespan like the stadium clerk did. The salesman paused for a moment as he noticed Leo's unhappy expression. He lowered the price. "If you can pay in cash, I can give you a promotion, New Earth. How about 3,500 SS? Leo leered at the bald giant. "Is this ship damaged?" The salesman sweated profusely. He shook his head. "No way. I got this brand new. You can check its condition later." Leo pursed his lips and coughed. "Excuse me. Give me a minute. I need to check something." "Okay." Leo walked away from the salesman. He opened his online shopping system and searched for the same spaceship model. Also, Leo filtered the search and narrowed it down to only spaceships and motherships. Stellar Model 3, Standard. Stellar Model 3, Long Range. Stellar Model 3, Performance. Stellar Model 3, Transporter. Stellar Model 3, Star Orbiter. Stellar Model 3, Star Carrier. Stellar Model 3, Star Destroyer. In the list, Leo noticed many alternative models. Some were designed to be commercial spaceships, while the latter ones were customized to be battleships. Leo managed to roughly memorize the spaceship's outline and the number of guns. As the salesman's spaceship had too many blank rooms inside, he figured that it might be either the transporter model or the commercial one. He checked the price tags next. Then he almost vomited blood. The commercial one cost $1 million YOL. The other models were even more expensive. The top-of-the-line, Star Destroyer model, had a whooping price of $20 million YOL. This didn't include the upgrade fees in the future. Leo closed his system screens. He turned around to look at the salesman. 1,000 soul stones? The salesman rejoiced that Leo wanted it. However, he was reluctant to sell it at that price. Thus, he haggled. Can't do, New Earth, but I'm feeling generous. If you really want it, I can do 4,800. I see. Well, maybe later. Thanks for showing the sightseeing. Wait. The salesman sweated waterfall. He rubbed his hands and hunched his back while his ugly, suspicious smile disturbed Leo. I can't go that far. How about 4,500? I need to eat, you know? Leo shrugged. My resources are limited. I can't afford that. Air. The salesman scratched his head. He gave Leo a meaningful look into the latter's eyes. How much do you have on you? Leo widely grinned. 1,000. Damn it. Can't you give more? I'll be in under if I sell ya at that price. Like I said, I can't afford it. But if you can lower it to 1,000, maybe I can come back with cash in a month or two. Really? The salesman grumbled and scratched his head again. His bald head was slightly red because of the intense scratches. After a serious contemplation, he made another counteroffer. Can it be 4,000? Do you think I can procure 3,000 additional soul freaking stones without 2 months? Using past knowledge and experience about the cultivation world and alchemy, Leo believed nobody, even in the higher stage, could obtain as many soul stones within a limited time. After all, essence stones were still a currency within this stadium's domain. Furthermore, Leo had a way to obtain soul stones. Alchemy recipe soul stones. 1 Malg Lich's bone any piece. In essence. Alchemy recipe soul stones. 1,000 essence stones. Fire, water, wood, metal, and earth catalyst. Fire, water, wood, metal, and earth essence. If he wanted to, he could allocate all 6 alchemy cauldrons to mass-produce soul stones. Then, he might get 1,000 soul stones in a month or 2 if the production time wouldn't take long. While the salesman seemed reluctant, Leo turned away from the store. I'll be back in 2 months. If you are willing to part with that for 1,000, I'll bring the cash here. Leo left the store and visited the other shops in the area. As for the salesman, he remained quiet as he didn't dare to lower his price again. The Kong race originated from the same galaxy as the Divine Stellar Court. Naz, the salesman, was originally one of the court's marines. However, Naz stumbled upon a remnant of the war during his patrol, and he deserted the troops along with this spaceship and his past collections. As he managed to flee here and qualify for the Veteran Pass, he settled down in the Fate Stadium City and opened a spaceship dealership to sell old junk that he collected throughout the years. So far, he managed to swindle a dozen rookies and got a sizable amount of essence stones for a living. When Naz found Leo, he thought that the latter was just another pushover. He dragged him to the spaceship, which he had roughly repaired. Then, he tried to sell it for soul stones. The real price tag of this spaceship was 50,000 soul stones for a brand new transporter model. As Naz was aware of its real value, he instinctively haggled to boost the price. However, he forgot that he stole this spaceship from an abandoned planet. Unfortunately, Leo's reaction terrified Naz. He looked like a veteran in this field as he suddenly dumped the price. Then, he refused Naz's counteroffers as if he had seen through the conditions of the ship. Damn it! 1,000 SS is too low, but I can't keep it with me for too long. If I don't sell it soon, the Divine Stellar's Marines will surely find me here, and it will be confiscated. I should have just accepted the offer. Naz hoped that Leo would come back and take the stolen spaceship out of his hands soon. Leo continued his tour in the Fate Stadium City's shopping mall. He visited other spaceship dealer stores and collected a large stack of brochures. Unlike Naz's store, The other dealerships offered legit brand new spaceships from their factories. The standard price of battleships was also intimidating. Some dealers asked for $1 million YOL as their bosses had a similar lifespan system as Leo's. The other dealerships wanted 10,000 soul stones at the minimum, which was too expensive for Leo's pocket at the moment. Leo thought to himself, I should just get that second-handed ship from that Napa. It doesn't matter if it's a smuggled ship or an illegal one. As long as I get to investigate my origins, it should be fine. Putting the matter to the back of his head, Leo proceeded to the third floor of the mall to see other exotic goods. He wished to learn more from his rival shopping mall. The third floor looked a lot more like a modern department stores. 1,000 luxurious shops lined up along the walkway, and most of their products were clothes, armor, artifacts, and trinkets. Although most stores offered combat gear for cultivators of various races, not many stores featured clothes for humans. Instead, they prioritized massive gears for giants and big creatures. Even armor and weapons were massive, even though the shops and walkways were designed for creatures under 5 meters tall. After touring deep into the back alley of the third floor, Leo found a weapon shop for a humanoid-sized creature. He went in to see what they had to offer. As soon as Leo walked into the bright store, he found a group of floating octopus cats in the store, holding long swords. One of them held 8 broad swords with 8 tentacles and waved them around. These are kinda light, Munya. The store owner was a stout old man with red skin. He was only 4 feet tall, but his arms and muscles were superior to average adult humans. Strangely, he had 9 fingers and 2 thumbs on each hand. For the first time, Leo encountered an alien dwarf. The dwarf yelled at the small Cathelhus in his store. Hey, meow Mealord, stop playing with constellation killer swords for a second. You'll hit the other customers. The Cathelhu, who held 8 swords, was a brown cat octopus. He also had 3 eyes and long cat ears. While floating, the cat opus yelled back. You ain't getting new customers aside from us anyway, Munya. Let me play with these immortal graded swords for a second. Maybe I'll buy them, Munya. Bullshit. You stinky Cathelhu never bought shit from my store. Only your brother did. The white cat octopus behind the brown cat wryly laughed. He turned around and noticed Leo's presence. Ah, our benefactor, Munya. Aren't you Florida man, Munya? Hearing the white cat's voice, the others looked at Leo. The latter also remembered them. The 3 cat octopus creatures were the guys who cheered for Leo when he first arrived at the stadium. However, Leo wasn't aware of these guys' real names. The white Cathelhu introduced himself. Hello, Florida man, Munya. I'm Meow de Mao, Munya. This is my elder brother and my fiancée, Cat Katarina, Munya. Visit and read more novel to help us update chapter quickly. Thank you so much. Chapter 182. Florida man stormed into gun store, threatened store owner, and robbed a pen. Chapter 182. Florida man stormed into gun store, threatened store owner, and robbed a pen. Leo was slightly confused. He had seen them in their giant forms, but at the moment, they were no bigger than a human's head. They looked like something from the Pokemon series. Most importantly, their speech reminded Leo of the giant cat ball statue back home. The statue also loved to meow Munya, like these guys. Discovering the kin of that statue, Leo was curious about them. He introduced himself and cupped his fist, mimicking cultivators. Yes, I'm Florida man, nice to meet you, fellas. The 3 Cathelhus saluted like modern soldiers with their tentacle arms. Their innocent eyes and happy smile showed their friendliness and carefree attitude. The floating cat Meow de Mao waved his tentacles and showed Leo a ring made of catnip vine and leaves. He bragged, Look, Florida man, this is my engagement ring, Munya. I bought it from the lifespan I got from your fight, Munya. Leo was taken aback. He still remembered that this guy said something about earning 10 million YOL. He wondered how much the ring cost as it seemed cheap. What did you pay for it? Only 1,000,000 years of lifespan, Munya. At $$ %. Leo almost swore to the Cthulhu for giving birth to this stupid variant, who just got scammed for no reason. I hope that has hidden features or power. Otherwise, I'm not stupid, Munya. Meow Damao laughed. This works as a storage ring, an energy battery, and a life-saving tool. Munya, as long as I charge this ring's battery to the fullest, it can block any attack from a sage once. Munya. A sage. Leo was curious about the strength standard and tiers in this universe. He already learned what the mortal strength was, but he was still clueless about the immortal stages and beyond. That's right, Munya. You don't know anything about sages, Munya? Leo shook his head. Could you explain it to me like I'm a toddler? Of course, Munya. Meow Damao took his time to explain the cultivation base, strength, and power scales of the universe. The lowest tier of the universe was the mortals. Their strength, cultivation methods, and standards were different, and it was impossible to compare them. Some mortals were capable of using the power of domain, when they were only a nascent soul cultivator, while many were incapable of gathering chi. The next bottom tier was the immortals. Similar to the mortals, they had different scale and cultivation methods, such as constellation method, internal star method, or celestial body method. Xeno-based creatures also had their own ways of gaining strength, and their cultivation ranking names differed. The next stronger tier was considered common in this fate stadium. People called them deities. Although their foundation was unique to their own race and cultivation method, they had one thing in common: followers. These deities often built a country, a religion, or an organization to protect weaker immortals and mortals. These people obtained the power of faith through their good deeds, making them worthy of being called a god. As for the sage, it was a realm higher than the deities. Leo pondered as Aku mentioned something about him being a deity. He was still puzzled as he didn't remember creating a religion. Anyway, Munya, are you here to commission new weapons, too? You have good eyes, Munya. This store makes the best immortal-killing treasures, Munya. The dwarf coughed. Correction, constellation-killing weapons. They're designed to cripple immortals with stars in their dantions. He glanced at Leo and sized him up. A few seconds later, he frowned as he couldn't measure or appraise Leo's true strength due to his weird physique. The dwarf introduced himself. I'm Crimson 19. You can call me Nine-Fingered Red. Which planet are you from? Ohilu? Duffany? Or SNU Paradise? Leo had a bad feeling about the world called SNU Paradise. He hoped that it wouldn't involve something under the belly, and he didn't want to know about the local culture. None of those. It's Earth. The cats froze while Nine-Fingered Red's face twitched due to the name. It was too similar to the N-word that they didn't want to utter. The latter coughed and changed the subject as he didn't want to pry into the subject. Ahem. Say, what are you looking for, Florida man? Maybe I can custom-make a weapon of your need. Leo rubbed his chin as the weapon racks and the products here all looked fancy and colorful. Instead of having only dull steel weapons, many swords, spears, lances, blades, and halberds had their glows. This shop's weapon racks had a theme. Each section was full of weapons of the same color. For example, red blades, swords, and halberds were arranged close to each other, while another section had similar items but with green. Leo looked around for a moment before his eyes were attracted to a black stick in the deepest corner behind a red weapon rack. He pointed at it. Can I see that black stick? Nine-Fingered Red raised his eyebrows. He wiggled his finger, and the black stick floated toward them. I forgot that I put that broomstick there. It's a useless stick, though. Do you really want that thing? Leo gave it a closer look. As a cultured man, he was attracted to a smooth and straight stick. In addition, this stick was a meter long and suitable for holding and swinging. He reached out to grab the black stick. As soon as Leo touched it, the stick shrank and transformed into a pen. Leo liked this pen stick. How much for this? The dwarf deeply sighed. He waved his hand. 100 essence stones are enough. It was a broom that I made long ago. Aside from the shrinking and enlarging power, it has no other perk. What about its durability? Depends on the user. Inject your blood into the ink tube of the pen and try to revert it back to the broomstick. You'll know. Curious? Leo opened the pen's back lid. Then he bit the tip of his index finger. He squeezed his transparent blood into the empty tube. Meow Mealord and the dwarf widened their eyes when they noticed Leo's blood color. They broke a sweat and lowered their heads. As for Meow Damao and Cat Katarina, they didn't notice anything. The pen absorbed Leo's blood. Originally, it was already black. But after taking in Leo's blood, it got even blacker. No light reflected from its surface. Leo waved it around. A few seconds later, it transformed back into a straight stick. Unlike before, it didn't look like a wooden broom or a plastic broom. The stick's surface was too smooth and sturdy to be called a broomstick. It might as well be called a metal short spear, as one of its tips looked like a pen's head. Leo tried smacking his arm and shoulder with the stick. Bonk. It sounded hollow on impact. However, the strike made Leo flinch as he could feel a numbing pain. He then checked the condition of the stick, wondering if something had broken. Betraying Leo's expectation, it was intact. No sign of damage appeared on its surface. Nice. I'll take this, please. The dwarf shrugged. Well, that's to be expected. Weapons don't make a master. Only the master makes weapons work. Ha! Nothing. Leo paid the dwarf in full. He ejected 100 essence stones from his spatial ring. The dwarf was an expert. He lightly snorted and forced all ejected essence stones to float toward him. But when he noticed the quality of the stones, he faintly grinned. Thank you for business, Your Holiness. Anything else particular you're looking for? Nah, I'm happy with this. Leo slightly jerked the short spear, reverting it into a pen. He then put the pen in his suit's inner pocket. He didn't notice that the dwarf changed Leo's pronoun. Due to his tight schedule, Leo bid farewell to the dwarf and cats. He stopped exploring the 3rd floor and went to the 4th floor. After Leo had left, Meow Mealord and the dwarf looked at each other. They wiped away the sweat on their foreheads. That was scary, Munya. Nine-Fingered Red deeply sighed. I think my lifespan is shortened by 10,000 years just now. Where did that monster come from? He's definitely not a human. That's what I want to know, too, Munya. While the two seniors complained about something, Damao and Katarina were puzzled. They had no idea why they were shivering in fear. What's the matter with you, Munya? Asked Damao. Meow Mealord deeply inhaled. He smacked the head of his little brother and yelled, You fool, Munya! That monster is not a human. Mealord opened his mouth, but he couldn't utter the next word. His voice got stuck in his throat. The dwarf also tried to say the word, but his voice didn't come out as well. They looked at each other as they realized something. Power of redaction, Munya! Mealord was shocked. The dwarf gulped. He pulled out a brown towel and wiped his pale face. He then stared at the 3 Cathalhis. No one tell a word about today's encounter. No one. Damao and Katarina were still clueless. Mealord grabbed his brother and sister-in-law and whispered to them. Never mention anything about that monster to anyone if you don't want to die, Munya. Why, Munya? To sum it short, he's a predator, Munya. Predator? Damao and Katarina still couldn't understand. It means he's the same as our master, Munya. The duo finally realized something. They sweated bullets. The 4th floor of this mall was a red light district, which Leo disliked. He skipped it to the next floor. The 5th floor was similar to what Leo had envisioned for his shopping mall. Tutoring centers and schools were the theme here. Thousands of children and teenagers of various races loitered in this place and gathered around food stalls and resting areas. Leo walked around to admire the names of schools and training centers in this place. The Way of Berserker, Sentinel Rearing Center, Chess Guardians, Leveling by SNU, Hold Up. Why is there a perverted school over here? There are children around. Da fuck? Leo was tempted to visit every school to get a brochure of their curriculum, except the sexual ones. After exploring the school area for an hour, Leo stumbled upon an arena. However, the surface was the arena was an 8x8 chessboard. At the moment, 16 children stood on the stage as if they were chess pieces, facing off against the other team. Everybody put on helmets of their pieces. The pawns stood in front of major pieces while rooks, bishops, knights, kings, and queens positioned behind the frontline pawns. Strangely, one side was a group of human-like children who had long monkey tails. As for the other team, they were all werewolf children. Oh, a human chess. The last time Leo played chess, his ELO was merely 1400 to 1500. He learned enough openings and middle game, but his overall vision and pattern recognition still needed improvement. At the side of the stage, their parents hovered, observing the game. They also sneaked glances at their kids, cheering for them. Leo mixed in with the crowd, but he couldn't fly. He climbed a spectator stand and sat at the back. Pawn e4, pawn e5. The game began. Oddly enough, they were playing an international chess game. The first move of each side was normal. However, the monkey-tailed humans utilized a bad opening. Queen h5. Leo almost snickered. He slightly shook his head as this game might either end prematurely. Knight c6. Bishop f3. Pawn g6. Queen f3. Knight f6. The game went on. Everything looked fine as both sides hadn't blundered any major pieces yet. But as the game went on, they started trading pieces. But instead of removing the taken piece, a stunning and disturbing event shocked Leo. The human child, who acted as a white pawn, slashed an opponent's black pawn representative with a real sword. The werewolf child whimpered and opened his jaws to retaliate. However, he couldn't bite the human child. The white pawn boy stomped on the werewolf boy and stabbed him in his chest. He gauged the heart of the wolf out and laughed. The parents of the werewolf only frowned, but they didn't bother coming down to help their kids. Everybody silently observed the game without uttering a word. Leo was disgusted by this game. He stood up and was about to jump on the stage to stop this nonsense. However, a guy next to him grabbed Leo's arm and pulled him with great force. Leo flinched as he sensed the strong force from the guy. He looked back. The person was a muscular green orc. He hushed Leo and shook his head. Don't interfere, human. This is a death chess for forsaken children. Don't ruin their ritual. Hey, a kid just died. They are all death row criminals. Aren't they just children? For your standard, maybe. But for the werewolves and Ohelians, those men are over 100 years old, and they disgraced their ancestors. This is where they give their descendants a second chance in life after the death sentence. The winning side will live on while the losers will be executed. This was a custom of this place. Whenever the trainees or juniors committed great crimes and were sentenced to death, they put the prisoners on this stage. The only way to survive was to win the chess game. However, there were flaws that Leo hated. What about the dead kid that got killed during the game? Can anybody revive them? No. Nobody can do anything about it. Before the game even starts, the match has already begun. Everybody's roles and chess pieces are pre-chosen by the judges. The worse crimes they committed, the weaker piece they get. The one that controls the king piece acts as their leader. As for the other pieces, they have to move according to their king's order no matter what. Visit and read more novel to help us update chapter quickly. Thank you so much. Chapter 183, Professional Wrestler Florida Man, fired from WWB after his debut match got interrupted due to technical difficulties. The executives claimed Florida Man's gimmick was too overpowered. The game went on and more youngsters murdered each other. As blood got into their eyes, the leaders of both sides failed to find efficient checkmate sequences. Instead, they focused on capturing more pieces, killing more opponents in the process. After 60 moves, they traded most pieces, leaving only kings and a few pawns. They continued pushing the pawns to the other side of the board to promote the pieces into queens. Leo shook his head as he lost interest in the bloodbath. He was disgusted and too disturbed to stay. As Leo left, the green orc earlier deeply sighed. See you later, human. I hope you won't end up in a death game like this. After witnessing the untasteful and unnecessary bloodbath, Leo was no longer in the mood to continue shopping. He exited the shopping mall to get some fresh air. As soon as Leo came out, he was greeted by a cyberpunk-style billboard TV on the opposite side of the road. The screen showed the stadium arena and a new pair of fighters in the middle of the ring. The fight already ended. The winner was a giant silver werewolf. As for the other party, it was a centaur whose guts were ripped out of his stomach. The werewolf stared into the monitor as he gazed at a hidden camera of the stage. He then cut his promo like a professional wrestler. Residents of Fate Stadium, you have been sitting here, watching us, the Fate crystal holders, kill each other for entertainment. We're glad that you enjoy watching us struggle in tears, sweat, and blood while the gambling house milks us dry for gambling profits. We love you, although we, the proud Fenrirers, are being mistreated left and right because of those pathetic haters and stinky fishermen gay lovers. We love you all, including the haters. But we arbor cowards and bullies. Leo shrugged as he was disinterested in professional wrestling promotions and trash-talking. It was none of his business. As Leo opened his system menu to teleport home, the wolf suddenly mentioned his name. Florida Man. Leo's hand paused. He frowned and glanced at the TV screen. The Fenrir werewolf continued barking. A junior of mine was just a 370-year-old immortal. However, a New Earth scumbag forced him to fight in a death match against his will. That New Earth strength is concealed, but I can tell that he's either a deity with at least 1 billion followers. Do you think it's fair for a god to bully a newborn immortal junior? Tell me, Florida Man. The crowd in the arena cheered and booed as if they were wrestling fans. Some of them were informed about what happened at the ticket lobby, but the majority of them weren't aware of the backstage drama. Meanwhile, Leo raised one of his eyebrows like a certain famous professional wrestler. He was amused, as if the Fate Stadium had prepared for such a promotional event. A floating camera appeared in the sky above Leo. He pointed the camera lens at his face and zoomed in. The next moment, half of the screen showed Leo's reaction. Everybody in the stadium city could see him. People around him kept a distance away from Leo while they observed the situation in glee. Some of them smiled as they were interested in this feud. Leo frowned. He had no intention of playing along since he wouldn't gain anything worthwhile. He scoffed at the Fenrir on the stage. Get a helmet and toughen up, puppy boy. Instead of barking and bitching about your junior's death, why don't you go and educate your Chihuahua juniors not to pick a fight or provoke a senior? In this universe, there's this little thing called fuck around and find out karma. As soon as Leo finished his sentences, he heard a loud boo from the arena. People around him also pointed their thumbs down, disliking Leo's response. As if the wolf had been prepared for this, he smiled and opened his arms, establishing his righteous dominance. See? New Earths are immoral, crude, uneducated pieces of trash that can't be recycled. Trashy gods like you have to be purged. The Fate crystal on you is a waste. Leo faintly smiled and shrugged. And, because you're trash, it's my duty to clean up the mess. Come up on the stage and accept my challenge. Trash. I might have used up the monthly quota as a player, but that doesn't mean I cannot challenge you into a life and death match. Why should I accept? I'm done here. I'm going home. Again, Leo laughed. Even though he might have played a role as a villain here, he didn't hate it. It had been a long time since he last watched a WWE show, and he always wanted to try acting like a wrestler. The wolf's expression grimaced as he realized that Leo could easily dodge his challenge. He pulled out a veteran fighter pass badge and shouted, I hereby exert my rights and the privilege of VF Pass and an Earth Fate Crystal player. I wish to force Florida Man into a death match. As soon as the wolf said that, Leo's shadow glowed in silver light. The next moment, it enveloped him and teleported him to the arena stage, the same stage as the big Fenrir werewolf. Leo pursed his lips. He didn't know that someone else could force a death match on him out of the blue. Frustrated by the stadium's power, he rolled his eyes. Oh boy, another time waster. Fortunately, there was a price that the werewolf had to pay. Leo's system informed him of the benefits of the challenged fighter. Ding. You have been forcefully challenged into a life and death match with the player, Anuraku, the liver-devouring Fenrir god. Anuraku, the liver-devouring deity, is forced to wager all his fate crystal, lifespan, and assets. You have the right to reject or adjust the wager as you wish. Please note, removing the entire bet will not cancel the match. You will be forced to fight anyway even though no wager has been set. A window screen showed icons of Anuraku's items and Earth Fate Crystal. The bottom label also revealed his lifespan. Current lifespan, 54,012 years. He was quite rich in materials and life force. Leo couldn't refuse this free offer. Returning the favor, Leo allocated item icons in his possession to the wager inventory, allowing the system to use them as gamble chips for the wager. After finishing the deal, Leo glanced at the scoreboard. As usual, the gambling house adjusted the odds based on the total bet. Florida Man, -200. Anuraku, +150. The odds were quite close, although the house favored Leo. Seeing such favorable odds, Leo salivated. He dumped 596,000 YOL to bet on himself, leaving 795 YOL after all the wagers. If I win, I'll have 1,002,819 YOL. Man, I'm so lucky. Idiots keep coming and offering their YOL to me. Leo thought of the universal language translation and the spaceships in the system store. At this rate, those items would be in his reach soon. Meanwhile, the referee and the stadium staff removed the corpse and cleaned the blood on the stage, preparing for the next fight. Spectators and other fighters from the arena filled the stands as they were interested in the match between players. Both Leo and Anuraku couldn't move as the stadium froze them again. They stood there, waiting for the others to finish their betting. While waiting for the official signal to fight, Anuraku and Leo's status windows were displayed on the scoreboard, comparing both fighters' records and strength. Name: Leo, redacted. Title/alias, Florida Man. Race: redacted. Age: redacted. Gender: male. Level/cultivation base: redacted. Fight record: 2W0D0L. Name: Anuraku. Title/alias: the liver-devouring Fenrir god. Race: Fenrir werewolf. Age: 13,155. Gender: male. Level/cultivation base: 381 star deity. Fight record: 36W1D3L. When the menu revealed that Leo's status was concealed, the crowd murmured. Then the odds on the screen rapidly changed. 300, 450, 600. By the time Leo blinked twice, the odds were already -900. Leo had a heartache. At this rate, his profit would be minimal. Damn it! Why? Is it something about my status? Anuraku also saw their statuses on the scoreboard. Although he couldn't move, his face was pale. Bastard! You trick me! Leo rolled his eyes. I didn't do dog crap. You were the one forcing my hands. I was about to go home, mind you. You and Earths are all the same. You cowardly trash. Blame yourself for bringing me into the ring. Oh, by the way, thanks for your lifespan. Anuraku was so enraged that his silver fur turned red. Yet he couldn't do anything under the stadium's influence. Beep. At long last, the signal began. The timer slowly counted down. 5, 4. Leo licked his lips as he prepared to finish this fight early. As for Anuraku, he gathered his strength and prepared an all-out attack. Bzzz. Suddenly, the entire stadium turned red, and the countdown stopped. A second later, one of the staff announced on the microphone, sending his telepathic voice to everybody in the stadium city. Dear fighters and honorable guests from far galaxies, the Fate Stadium has been hit by a rift vacuum because some idiot gnomes activated an outdated hyperspace jump without authorization. Please turn off all elemental devices, artifacts, and ship components, or they will be fried by the stray dark matter's radiation from the hyperspace. All fights have been cancelled, and all system teleportation abilities are disabled. If you made a wager, we will refund everything. Please stay put until our staff pull us away from the vacuum. Thank you for your understanding. In short, someone screwed up this massive complex stadium to the point that all businesses were forced to temporarily close. Leo could move again. He opened his system menu to check if he could return home. As the staff mentioned, the teleport home button had a big red cross on it. He couldn't use it or press it at the moment. Anuraku seized this chance. He ran away from Leo with a tail tugging between his legs, not looking back. The lights of the stadium were turned off. The crowd in the stadiums started using their night vision tools or relied on their natural nightlights to see in the dark. Leo's green eyes also glowed in the dark. He looked around and found many pairs of eyes on the stand. Ha! I guess my luck is bad today. I should have returned home when I had a chance. Meanwhile, Cat floated on the canyon river, chilling and relaxing after a big meal. She hummed and meowed. Nya. Without realizing it, Cat sang the Nine Cat song. She didn't know how she knew the song, but it was with her when she was born. While singing, the transparent river's surface gradually turned rainbow. Waves of colorful water spread, but they became transparent when the water flowed away from Cat. More thunder caimans were thrown from the flying platform to the canyon river. Giant tarantulas and cockatrices also fell along the waterfall. When their bodies sank into the river, they swallowed the contaminated water. Thunder caimans were immune to Leo's touch. Thus, the contaminated water was nothing to them. However, land creatures like tarantulas and cockatrices got infected by a mutating virus, and they squirmed in pain. After a few minutes of struggling, they became floating corpses on the river. As Cat stopped eating random food, the corpses remained in the river for a while. An hour later, a dozen mannequins from the recycling center arrived. They traveled along the river and trapped the corpses with logs and long sticks. Then they pulled them to the shore. With determination, they carried everything back to the granaries. While they worked, thunder caimans attacked the mannequins. However, none of the monsters managed to damage the wooden dolls of Leo. A giant caiman swallowed one of the mannequins. Achieved a minor victory, it smiled and dove into the water. However, the mannequin tore through the caiman's stomach and emerged out from its back hole. After coming out, it swam and dragged the dead caiman back to the junkyard as it was pre-programmed. After the first batch of mannequins brought monsters and beasts back to the domain, the employees there noticed the commotion. They tried to help the mannequins, but all of them shook their heads, refusing their aid. Moreover, the dolls made a sign, warning the locals about the poisonous water. That day, one of the mannequins put a radioactive symbol sign and a biohazard sign to warn the cultivators for the first time. Visit and read more novel to help us update chapter quickly. Thank you so much. Chapter 184, Viral footage of frightened Florida man running away from chasing pastor becomes new TikTok challenge. Local sheriff warns Floridians to avoid pastors on street until further notice. As the entire structure's power went down, Leo had no choice but to leave the arena. He exited the stage and found himself in a backstage hallway. The long hallway was wide and tall enough for a T-Rex to set a parkour course here. But for Leo, it was a massive empty room. The dark hallway and monsters walking in the dark reminded Leo of a creepypasta legend, namely the backrooms. Assuming a fearless attitude, Leo strolled along the hallway, searching for an exit. His glowing green eyes shone like a will-o-wisp in the middle of the night. As he walked further, Leo sensed countless eyes watching him. The backstage was usually a gathering place for local fighters and their disciples. Aliens formed groups of the same race like herds while they traveled through the backstage hallway. As Leo was alone, he attracted a lot of attention, yet nobody sought trouble with him. In fact, they maintained a distance from him as if they were wary of this new Earth. Leo glanced around and sensed cautiousness in their eyes. As he had no time to bother with these aliens, he avoided them and left them alone. Unfortunately, not all races avoided Leo. A few groups challenged his eye contact. 100 Fenrir werewolves occupied an area in front of a locker room, which was designated for their people. Unlike other races, they refused to wear clothes. A dozen wolves leaned on the wall and glared at Leo while the rest continued smoking like a group of teen gangsters. The werewolves squatted and huddled, smoking something stinky. They puffed orange smoke in the air, but the vapor didn't float up. Instead, the smoke fell to the floor as if their particles were heavy. Looking at the smoke, Leo glanced at his feet. He still sensed a mild gravity force from the floor while he walked. He wondered if this place was a planet or an artificial star. As soon as Leo looked away from the group of werewolves, the gang bore fangs and growled at Leo for a moment. However, Anuraku rushed out of the locker room and dragged his people inside. Leo smirked at the coward werewolf and shook his head. Since the wolves seemed to be afraid of something, Leo took this opportunity to proceed further. As Leo kept going, he noticed another group of ethnic. While standing in the dark, their eyes transformed into silver-blue fireballs, floating in their eye sockets. They had sharp eyes pointing upward. Aside from their eyes, ears, purple hair, and purple skin, they looked identical to humans. Most of them wore tight bodysuits, highlighting their figures and muscle curves. The group consisted of 5 females and 30 males. The males had toned muscles and tall physique. Their average height was 6 feet 6 inches, which made them look thinner than usual. As for the females, they had the perfect curves and figures that adult men fantasized for. Everything about them was perfect for a dream mother, except for their unusual height. The shortest one was about 6 feet 3 inches. As Leo was a man of culture, he couldn't help but check on the bodies of these sexy humanoid aliens. Moreover, their tight bodysuits outlined their camel toes and mountain peaks, adding fuel to Leo's suppressed flame. Fortunately, the men's suit killed Leo's boner as they also flexed their manhood. Looking at the banana outlines under their clothes, Leo wished he could bleach his eyes to forget the cursed view. As Leo was about to mind his business and leave them be, a tall man from their group approached him. The purple man put one hand on his chest and the other hand behind his back. With his legs closed, he bowed like a noble. "Greetings, sir. Could I have a couple minutes of your time to talk about Lord Malg?" Malg? The name interested Leo. As Izan called herself the Empress of the Malg Empire, he wondered if they were related to her. "Tell me more." Noticing the enthusiasm in Leo's tone, the purple man was delighted. He raised his head, stood straight, and leaned backward. His expression was solemn while he introduced himself. "My name is Orhan Mahabanana Shlonglonglong. I'm an elder of Kutrish planet, and I'm governing 5 moons. Pleased to make your acquaintance, Sir Florida Man." His posture highlighted the bulky pants and the outline of his sword. The combination caught Leo off guard, making him choke. Leo covered his mouth to suppress his laughter. He tried his best not to change his expression while he averted from the weird name subject. "You know me? Your previous fights left us astonished, sir. Oh, silly me. I'm supposed to introduce you to my companions, juniors, and the greatness of Lord Malg." The weird purple guy slowly introduced everybody in his group one after another. Instead of being brief, he narrated the deeds and achievements of his juniors and friends. 30 minutes later, the introduction of the men was finally over. Leo almost died from suppressing his laughter due to their quirky names. Musa Rakanitz Ball Blue Blue, Hazem Peepnile Whitewater Cum Cum, Aslan Grace Liquid Pizboy PP. The whole introduction process was torturous for Leo. He felt like the purple guy trolled him. Still, Leo believed that the system's translator did a poor job converting their proper names into Google MTL insults. So he maintained his smile and continued to listen. However, his shoulders and lips trembled. The names were too weird and immature. In normal circumstances, Leo wouldn't laugh at these childish jokes. However, Orhan telling their names while maintaining a serious face and pointing at their private parts made Leo lose it. Moreover, these guys bent their back backward, flexing their groin area, which made it worse. Seeing the wide smile on Leo's face, Orhan was overjoyed that Leo seemed friendly. He proceeded to introduce the girls next. "Next is my daughter, Aisha Mahatetan Uraus Smolsmall." The woman behaved the same as the men, backbending and highlighting her hump. Leo couldn't handle it anymore. He turned around, crouched, face-bombed, bit his arm and cackled in his throat. He was in tears. The culture shock was too much for Leo. A few seconds later, Leo turned around. He wiped his teardrops and brightly smiled, looking refreshed. He nodded at Aisha. "Nice to meet you, young lady." Orhan kept on going. He pointed at the other girls, and they did the same as Aisha. Leo maintained his poker face throughout the ordeal. When the introduction was over, he let out a long sigh of relief. He then confessed, "Excuse me, I don't know anything about your culture. Is it normal to push your crotch closer to the other person you're speaking with? Orhan laughed. Of course, this is how we display our sincerity and trust in others. Lord Malg taught us that showing our reproductive organs to guests is the best way to break the ice and reveal everybody's hidden sides during a conversation. Oh, Leo couldn't deny that. He recalled how Izan reacted when they slept together naked. She behaved like a virgin maiden in romance stories, revealing her unexpected side. Vice versa, had a pretty sexy six-breasted woman stripped in front of Leo, he might have jumped her with no hesitation. On the other hand, had Izan tried to seduce Leo with her flat chest, he would have vomited. And, of course, we do this to get rid of embarrassment and shame. Our productive organs are what nature created for us so that we can conceive babies. It is wrong to be ashamed of showing one in public since it's just a part of our body. Leo broke a sweat. This guy sounded crazier than Leo's fellow Floridians at home. This is Lord Malg's teaching, Sir Florida man. Since you're such a respectable man, would you like to grant us an honor and be a part of us? Lord Malg and his apostles will surely welcome you with open legs. I'd rather see them with open arms, not legs. It's the same, though? Anyway, Leo coughed and changed the subject. I'm so sorry. I'm an atheist. God forbid. I don't think I can follow your culture and traditions. Oh, you don't have to worry about that, Orhan laughed. Even if you aren't interested in following Lord Malg, you can always be our friend. Leo was relieved. At least this guy was reasonable. But the next words of Orhan changed Leo's mind. Let's start by having you massage my daughter's hump first to get us closer. When you're comfortable, we can massage yours. Leo ran away without hesitation. These people were sick. Wait, Sir Florida man, don't run away from our lord. Orhan tried to chase after Leo, but the latter was gone. After ditching the weird cult, Leo found himself at a hotel district outside of the Colosseum zone. He wiped his sweat and grumbled. This is what happens when liberals take over the world. Damn. Leo entered the closest hotel building to book a room to rest. Although the entire district also experienced a power outage, they still operated as if it wasn't an issue. He prayed that he could get home soon. He had enough of this weird place. At noon, it had been 6 hours since Leo had gone missing. Nobody had noticed it yet. Although Kat encountered the invaders from the Gore tribe, no men came to find the missing unit. On the other hand, the domain gradually expanded as Sunwon and the Tamer girls paid the northern lava field a visit. They flew over the field to check on the rumor badgers. The lava badgers noticed the women's arrival. They waved their arms and danced. Badger! Badger! Sunwon descended and hovered over the burning field. Despite the extreme temperature, she seemed unaffected. Hello, little friends. Want some food? Sunwon offered them cabbages from Leo's farm. The badgers cheered and received them. After devouring everything, they waved their arms again. Badger! Badger! Sunwon's disciples giggled as they found them funny. However, Sunwon didn't let her guard down since these little critters were stronger than they looked. I heard you were newborn first stage monsters, but I can only see third stage. This growth rate is too fast for regular monsters. She wished that Yao Chichi was here with her so that the latter could practice their taming techniques on them. But since Sunwon came here with the other disciples, she had no choice but to let them try. The group of young tamer girls stood on their flying swords while they approached the badgers. Mimicking Sunwon, they offered them cabbages to befriend them. Some of the badgers were full and they denied the cabbages. Fortunately, a few accepted their gestures. The girls quickly deployed a taming array around the creatures to connect their thoughts with them. A dozen circle formations appeared and quickly vanished. Everybody succeeded in connecting their thoughts with the designated monsters. One of the lava badgers jumped into the arms of a tamer girl. The latter panicked. However, as soon as she caught the monster, she noticed that their lava physique didn't harm her. Sunwon explained, when a creature is successfully tamed, you will gain some of their abilities and immunity. But be careful, though. Once your creature dies, you will lose that ability and immunity. Be sure to protect your pets and cherish them. Raise them as if you're raising your children. The girls nodded. One of them jumped into the lava field and discovered that the moldy liquid could no longer burn her. She laughed and chased after other badgers, who also played with her. Sunwon nodded in approval as these girls managed to grasp the basics. Still, she couldn't get rid of her worries. How did these monsters grow so fast? What caused them to evolve? The lava shouldn't have enough fire chi for all of them. While Sunwon was deep in thought, one of the badgers sang, "Badger, badger, 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 mushroom, mushroom." Sunwon widened her eyes as soon as she heard it. She thought of the white tree that Leo had planted, south of the farmlands. There was also a protection array that Izan managed, which trapped the sweet dream mushrooms inside from spreading outside. And mushroom? Did they eat that? Visit and read more novel to help us update chapter quickly. Thank you so much. Chapter 185. Florida man called cops to offer surrender, claiming he abducted alien princess in his dream. Sunwon and her disciples returned to Leo's domain. She also brought a dozen lava badgers with them so that the tamers could bond with them. However, that was not her only intention. She brought everybody to the mysterious white tree that Leo and Izan had planted. The array still sealed the sweet dream mushrooms inside. Unfortunately, the mushrooms kept reproducing spores, creating a fog and blocking their vision. The badgers twitched their noses as they sensed the delicious mushrooms. The critters drooled and sprinted toward the array barrier. Using their claws, they scratched the dome, but they failed to get inside. Upon realizing that it was impossible to get in, they turned their attention to the ground and started digging. But again, the array barrier extended to the subterrane. None of them could enter. The badger whimpered. They turned around to look at their new masters with their puppy eyes. Sunwon's disciples felt bad for these little monsters. They begged their master, "Master, can we ask Senior Florida Man if he could share the mushrooms with us? My pet told me that he needs it." Sunwon sighed. "I guess we have to go ask him. Come with me." The team brought everybody to the parking lot building as they planned to visit Leo at his battle bus. To show respect to Leo, they chose not to fly and land on top of the building. Instead, they entered the building and walked up the stairs. The 7th floor of the parking lot building became a village of these young cultivators. As Leo's domain never encouraged competitions but field jobs, these former Life Sword Sex disciples either trained or rested when they had free time. As a result, the environment was peaceful and quiet. When the girls passed by the floor, the boys all turned and gawked at them in silence. But when they saw Sunwon, they looked away. The girls giggled as they found these young men quirky and funny. It had been a while since they lived in the same domain, but they still couldn't get used to their presence. Upon reaching the 8th floor, they found the lone bus at the corner. They gathered in front of the bus, and Sunwon knocked on the door. She then sent a voice transmission to the residents inside. "This is Sunwon. I wish to seek an audience with Senior Florida Man." A few minutes later, the door was open. Ivy came out to greet the visitors. The blindfolded hooded girl turned left and right as if she could see through the black clothes. Upon sensing the cute monsters, Ivy smiled. "How cute. Are they new employees?" Sunwon coughed. "They're new pets of my disciples." "How nice. Right, what business do you have with the Holy One, young lady?" Sunwon blushed. Most people called her grandma or aunt, but nobody called her young lady anymore. Being praised as a young lady made her embarrassed. Still, Sunwon recovered her senses instantly. She realized that Ivy's real age might be a lot older than her since she treated her as a junior. Sunwon minded her manner and lowered her head. "We would like to request a few sweet dream mushrooms to feed these pets." "Sweet dream mushrooms?" Ivy frowned. "My master and Holy One said that the mushrooms are poisonous to mortals. If you eat it, you will die. Only we, the undead, can consume those. Also, there are true death mushrooms in there. Even my master and I aren't capable of consuming those." Ivy was concerned about the mutated mushrooms that Leo secretly cultivated. Izan and her colleagues once inspected the true death mushrooms and discovered that they could disintegrate their souls. Thus, they had been avoiding the true death mushrooms and keeping the array sealed. Only Leo could enter and leave as he wished. I know, but these creatures seem confident. As if the badgers understood Sun Wan's words, they puffed their chest and waved their arms up and down. Badger, badger, mushroom, mushroom. Ivy gave the badgers a meaningful look. She raised her finger. Give me a moment. I'll go ask my master. Many thanks. A few minutes later, Ethan, Beatrice, Mark, and Ivy came out. Everybody dressed in black suits that the clothing store mannequin had supplied them. As usual, the three subordinates of Ethan wore black blindfolded clothes. Ethan swept her eyes and glanced at the lava badgers. The creatures flinched. Afraid of Ethan's death glare and her suppressive aura, they hid behind their masters. The disciples also trembled in fright as Ethan still maintained her aura as a quasi-immortal. They could barely breathe and stand on two legs. Ethan looked at the shaking girls and realized her mistake. She suppressed her aura. The girls were relieved. They fell on their knees and broke a cold sweat. What's up, human? Ethan turned to Sun Wan next. Sun Wan coughed and retold what she had said to Ivy. Ethan pursed her lips. She gave the badgers a meaningful look, walked toward the nearest creature, and picked one up. She brought it closer to her face and sniffed at it. You stink. Are you a skunk or a badger? Pick one. The badger squealed in fright. It waved its arms and legs, trying to break free. Ethan put it down and gestured for Sun Wan and others to follow her. Come along. Since you ask for it, I'll test one on them. If they can eat sweet dream mushrooms and survive the mutation, I'll keep feeding them. But if they accidentally eat true death mushroom, you can say goodbye to them. Even I can't eat those. Sun Wan and the girls gulped, wondering what kind of poisonous mushroom Leo was cultivating. The group flew to the White Tree Array to check on the mushrooms and experiment on the badgers next. South of Leo's domain, the Gore tribe finished demolishing useless buildings and integrated the Frozen Fire City as their new home. The men repaired and rebuilt array towers to defend against potential raiders and local cultivators. Many dispatch teams also returned after a brief scouting. They rushed to see Chang Baidu to report their findings. A few teams brought back war trophies, such as women, slaves, essence stones, spirit stones, and storage rings. Then, they gave everything to their leader as tribute. Chang Baidu was pleased with the progress. He ordered the men to keep young women as their seedbeds and kill all other prisoners, including children and elders. Blood spilled in Chang Baidu's throne room. Women screamed in desperation as the four-armed men dragged them to their new dens. Everything went according to his plan except the one variable. Chang Baidu walked out of his castle and gazed toward the north. He still had no clue who Florida Man was. I sent a team to scout the north, but they haven't come back yet. Should I dispatch troops to check it out? As everything about Florida Man was mysterious, Chang Baidu chose to play it safe. Instead of sending large troops to attack Leo's domain to the north, he called one of his best generals to visit him. Late afternoon, a female mutant arrived. Her figure was as sexy as a Japanese gravure model, but she had 4 arms like them. In addition, she had 2 pairs of breasts instead of 1, and her skin was green. The mutant put on a new dress, which she had stolen from the local commoner's cloth shop. Her pink robes fluttered as if she was a fairy. Sister, you're here? The woman was Chong Chong. She was the princess of the Gore tribe, and she was also a quasi-immortal like her brother. What are you calling me for? Are you bored? Chong Chong grumbled as her brother interrupted her shopping spree. She hadn't plundered enough clothes. I want you to bring your team north. The prisoners said Magpie City of Life Sword Sect was there. Go and destroy it for me. Also, if you run into the team that I sent earlier, drag them here. They have been slacking. Oh? I'm a vanguard this time. Yeah. Sweet. Do you mind if I claim the whole city as my own? I need more clothes. Suit yourself. I have a second order, though. I want you to find out about Florida Man. The Magpie City should be close to that guy's domain. They should know something. Chong Chong raised her eyebrows as she was surprised. As Chong Baidu was usually cautious when he dealt with strong foes, she realized that the rumored man might be the toughest opponent that they had to face soon. Her expression turned solemn. All right, I'll gather information for you. Good. Be sure to hurry back. I have a bad feeling about this. Chong Chong nodded and rushed to her barack. After leaving her brother, Chong Chong gathered her troops. Instead of bringing a small team with her, she rallied 1,000 soul formation and 500 soul transformation mutants with her. The unit flew north, heading straight toward Leo's domain. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. High above the clouds, Chong Chong and her 1,500 men headed north without looking below. Chong Chong's troops were experienced in siege warfare and wars. Flying above the clouds and hiding their presence were their favorite tactic. Using this method to approach their enemies, they could launch a surprise attack on any city, sect, and dens undetected. Without realizing it, they bypassed Cat's line of defense. They flew over the Canyon River and got close to the Mystic Realm platform of Leo. They were 1 kilometer away from the platform. Chong Chong remained vigilant. She raised her fist, signaling her troops to stop going further. Our objective is the Magpie City, not the domain of the mysterious guy. We'll detour around it and launch a surprise attack on the Life Sword sect. After that, we'll retreat before that guy launches a counterattack. The men saluted and flew away from the flying platform. Chong Chong acted as a rearguard and followed after her troops. While Chong Chong retreated, the black-winged statue's eyes moved. He glared at the mutants for a moment before he fixated his sight on the woman. The statue Meow Meow licked his lips while the 3 women statues around him frowned at their husband. Meanwhile, the other 2 statues shook their head. The giant wolf rolled his eyes while the Cathalhu statue snickered. We will watch over the domain, Munya. Meow Meow, you go and have fun. Be sure to come back before Master returns, Munya. Meow Meow gave the Cathalhu a thumbs up. I'll be right back, Munyang. It's Munya, not Munyang. It sounds the same. Anyway, peace out. Whoosh. The black-winged angel statue vanished, leaving his 3 wives behind. Meanwhile, Leo was still trapped in the Stadium City. After running away from the sicko alien cultists, Leo returned to the hotel and took a break. He lay on his bed and tried to get some sleep. Wiggle. Suddenly, his thighs and groin got itchy. His shadow under him moved by itself. However, the darkness hid the shadow's movements. Leo failed to detect the moving shadows. He fell asleep. However, he had a weird dream. He dreamed that he had become a black-winged angel, and he had been following a hostile sexy 4-breast woman. At first, he let the body move around by instinct. A minute later, Leo remembered that he was dreaming. Aware of the lucid dream, Leo got bolder. He rushed toward the sexy 4-arm 4-breast woman and groped her. Using his superior physique and strength, he dragged her away from the others. While Leo dreamed, his shadows moved on the wall, displaying the exact scene in his dream. The angel caught the woman and covered her mouth. The next moment, the 2 shadows returned to Leo as if nothing had happened. The tranquility of silent night was broken by the graceful pitched tent. The wet tent and his satisfied smile revealed the mission accomplished. Several hours later, Leo woke up and discovered his misdeed. He screamed and smacked his forehead, ashamed of himself. He then spent an hour washing his pants and underwear. Whoosh! The black-winged angel returned to the platform after a quick deed. He also brought back another statue with him. The new statue was a 4-armed woman with 4 milkers. Like the others, she had no clothes on. The Cathalhu and Fenrir statues leered at their colleagues. The latter scoffed in disgust. Another one, woof? Meow Meow dragged the new captive and put her on his lap. He nodded in confirmation. Yes, another one. Does Master know Munya? He controlled me earlier and temporarily robbed me of 5 senses. I don't think he's aware of his power, though. The guardians stared at the victim, who was turned into a fellow statue. Although she was just converted, the mutant statue seemed lifeless. What about her soul, Munya? Devoured. Deader than dead. She's inside our master now. Ah. So what are you going to do with that soulless doll, Munya? What else? Returning her to our master, of course. Hearing the plan, the wolf and the cat snickered. They looked forward to seeing Leo's reaction. Visit and read more novel to help us update chapter quickly. Thank you so much.